Hello, true duelists. It's YGO Yu-Gi-Oh! Single Card History, where I'm going to be talking about some of the cards that have impacted Yu-Gi-Oh! Throughout the years, and some of the other ones that didn't. Today's card, just a damn good card. It's Machina Fortress. Fortress was first released in 2010's Machina Mayhem structure deck as an ultra rare, and the cover card of the deck deservingly so. Notable reprints include a rare printing in 2012's Battle Pack Epic Dawn, as well as a Starfoil rare print that you could look at if you wanted to in the same set. It also got a Peasant rare print in Astral Pack 6 in 2014, and most recently as of this video, a Peasant rare again in 2020's Mechanized Madness structure deck. As of this video, it's never been on the ban list, and if it ever ends up there, it's because of the world's saltiest player who just can't beat Earth Machine being suddenly the person running Konami, because that's the only way I could see that happening. A level 7 Earth attribute machine type monster with 2500 attack and 1600 defense, its effect reads: you can discard machine monsters whose total levels equal 8 or more, then special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. If this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, target one card your opponent controls, destroy that target. Before resolving an opponent's monster effect that targets this face-up card, look at your opponent's hand and discard one card from their hand. Man, I do love this card. From the ease of summoning to the solid effects and respectable stat line, it's just a really fair but good card. For starters, it's important to note that the effect to summon it by discarding machines whose levels total 8 or more does not say you can't discard itself as part of that cost. And you very much can. By pitching it and literally any other machine type monster in your hand, you get to drop the boy. And there's been more than enough decent machine decks over the years to really get the most out of that fact. The first deck to take advantage of that fact was, of course, Gadgets, the original conga line of little dudes whose game plan is to simply out-advantage the opponent. Where once Gadgets relied on cards like Limiter Removal and Shrink to manipulate the attack stats of monsters in order to clear the board, Fortress allowed them to have a bigger number than 1400 to deal with problems, while staying with the deck's natural strategy. No longer in need of something like Snipe Hunter, Fortress could clear numerous monsters in battle, be it by beating over the opponent's monster or by simply crashing into the monster and then using its effect when destroyed by battle to clear the bigger monster. And the best part was, since the Gadgets all grabbed gadgets to replace themselves on summon, you never ran low on machines in hand to discard to summon it out. In the ideal strategy, you discard one gadget and itself, but if the need be, you could discard 2 gadgets from your hand to get the job done. Edison players may be familiar with this one, as it was a viable deck in that format, so to say. Also, while abusing Solidarity, a spell that gave all your machines 800 attack while you have only machines in the grave. And when your biggest monster discards a machine to summon itself out, it's not very hard to get Solidarity live, and it makes for a pretty fun Unga Bunga beatdown type deck. Gadget, like many decks, was bolstered by the addition of Xyz monsters into the game, as every other deck was, but Gadgets are notable too, with the level 4 spam being as natural a fit for the deck as Fortress was, and finally having something to do with the Gadgets beyond being fodder for Fortress or death by 1,000 cuts to the opponent. The addition of solid rank 4 monsters only made the deck stronger. Maestro could be a defensive wall or a pseudo Book of Moon on your own turn, Photon Palp Operative could switch monsters to attack to get in more damage, and Utopia was just another beater to help swing for game. And as the format grew, even Fortress could be used for Xyz summons. With the release of cards like Big Eye and Draco Sack, they had 2 very strong and costly cards in 2013 that were damn good in the metagame. Both were played because sometimes you had 2 Fortresses on board, and it's not like the extra deck was especially tight for Gadgets in 2013. Fortress was a staple of the deck the same as it ever was, because while the rank 4 train was good, sometimes an immediate 2500 beater without the need for Ultimate Offering or something else turn 1 is really all you need. Gadgets weren't the only machine deck playing Fortress at the time, however, as Geargia was another deck that could make good use of the beat stick with minimal investment. Geargia was much more of a combo deck than Gadget was, often playing some sort of engine to get access to tuners, be it a Psychic engine as was popular at the time, or a Karakuri version for more synchro and machine energy. Karakuri was a popular fit for its ability to get out copies of Karakuri Nishipachi to use its effect to change battle positions to flip up, say, Geargia Armor, which could search for a Geargia Accelerator on flip summon. This, coupled with its ability to flip itself face down and the lack of once per turns, made it very reliable to get advantage by flipping and unflipping and flipping again your Geargia armors. Where Fortress could fit into the deck was twofold. It, along with a Dragon Ruler Redux, allowed Karkuri engines easier access to Dracosac, broadly making with its level 7 Synchro Bure, and it was searchable off Gearframe, which meant that the deck could play a level 4 to help with rank 4 and Synchro 8 plays that it was already doing. Since there were countless machines in the deck, it wasn't especially hard to get out either, as pitching a spear-searched Geargia monster or Spear Geargianu was hardly a bad trade for the 2500 beater that this card always offers. These two decks were its primary home, both in their time and really in the game at large if you ask me. Geargia would ultimately drop the card much more quickly than Gadgets would, with Gadgets carrying on playing the Machina engine of Gearframe and Fortress, even to this day for some people as I'm making this video. Granted, it's not in every single Gadget deck, but it's still a very great engine to accompany the Gadget's core strategy. Beyond this, the card fell out of the meta pretty well immediately by the time we reached Duelist Alliance. Come 2014, the card's all but forgotten, although it did see a small handful of tops I can tell you about. There's at least one top of an ABC deck playing it, because ABC just needs pieces in the graveyard to cheat contact fuse out their boss monster, so why not pitch one to get an extra 2500 beat stick that's annoying to get rid of. This was one of plenty of early ABC builds that people tinkered with before finding the best engine for the deck. Remember when people were trying to play ABC with Lightsworn? Well, much like that build didn't stick, neither did Fortress. It also didn't have room in the extra deck for a cheeky Big Eye or Dracosac, which is a bit of a tragedy, because that's always just funny to me. You know what else is a tragedy? Machina Orchest. Much like ABC, Orchest cards like being in the graveyard, and they're machines. Hence, our iconic discard boy. Here's a spot where Dracosac does get a chance to shine again along with its old comrade, because they both shared a common function, having names. The infamous any two monsters is full combo that made up Orchest decks meant some folks opted for a Machina engine to get the game going, because doing so meant you could get Orchest names into the graveyard to help further your plays and even offer disruptions if you had the field spell, which was a very natural fit into the deck. Plus, getting a name on board is part of the full combo. Much like ABC, this was not the most popular thing to include in the deck, and it wouldn't really stick around in the meta sense. But at this point, we're in 2019, and Machina Fortress will take what it can get. And what it can get is the least creatively named deck in the history of the game, because Machina was one of the decks that got some support over the course of the years, and their new toys coupled with the Infinitrack cards and some train cards gave us Earth Machine, a deck literally named Attribute Type. So creative. This deck rose to fame as a rogue level deck. Never one that was the best at tournaments, but one that 3 people online could play really well, and that made a lot of people think that the deck was better than it was insofar as I can tell. That's no disrespect to the deck or its players, I just mean this was not a deck that you took to an event and were like, I have extreme confidence that there's going to be plenty of other people playing it and we're all gonna top. It did get sporadic tops still, notably a top 16 finish at the EUWCQ in 2023. It's a deck with a very consistent engine and a notably fantastic grind game, access to an in-theme Avarice to keep its resources back in the deck, and enough searching to find all of its various engines and pieces to help enable the deck to draw out its non-engine blowout cards. This helps the deck try and out-hand trap the opponent, so to say, while keeping a rotation of big Tonkas on board to play with. The main goal, from what I can tell, is not so much to prevent your opponent from playing when you go first, it's more so to stall them out so that you can get to turn 3 and then swing for game, because you've got 1,000 Earth Machine monsters with their big fat chunky attack stats. It isn't the simplest deck to pick up and play, which has helped keep it out of the limelight in regards to the metagame. In this deck, Fortress's easiest home in the entire game, it's been deemed a one of. You can send it to the grave with Machina, oh boy, Unclasper. You can send it to the grave with this thing that's on the screen right now, and that can be searched with a high-level machine thanks to their Turbo Tenki of sorts in Machina redeployment. For the most part, it exists as a one-of little extra beater on turn 3, or maybe a bit of link material on turn 1, which has brought us to the point of time where I'm making this video. I've got a soft spot for this card, for being just such a solid card. At no point in my life have I been playing against this card and thought that it was way too strong. And every time I'm the one playing it, I do love how strong it feels. It's never absurd though. Like sure, you can summon 2 copies of it in one turn, but that's at a minimum 4 cards out of their hand. And even then, that's a tall ask. The lack of a once per turn on its effects and summoning has always felt negligible, and the disruption feels both fun to play and fun to play around when you can. I remember playing against a machine beatdown deck while playing a Blackwing deck, and having to make sure I could clear out my hand before using a card to target the Machina Fortress on board, lest I get hand ripped, because sometimes I need my spell and trap cards, you know? It makes for a fun bit of gameplay. You don't just get to summon Castell and spin this away in a 2014 format, not without protecting your hand. Makes it a little more fun when I can't just, turn the brain off and go Castell for every single problem that pops up when I'm playing in Hat. Overall, Machina Fortress is a card as strong as it is fair. The 2500 attack stat works well with its ease of summoning. It allows you to check a monster like, say, Stardust Dragon, and its battle destruction pop means you can help to out monsters bigger than it, if not outright discourage simply being it beaten over. Like, yeah, you can summon Goyo and take my Machina Fortress, but I will be popping that Goyo by the time it gets onto your field. Plus, the hand rip discourages targeted removal, an effect which was solid against techs, ranging from Raikou the Lightsworn Hunter in 2010 through to Castell in 2014 and even a Nightmare Monster in the Link era. Both its effects can deter common removal types, and it's all on a main deck body. The ease of summoning it also has enabled a number of extra deck plays, from the rank 7 plays of 2014 to Link plays in the modern era, and cheeky Gadget teched-in plays like a level 8 Synchro, because Effect Veiler's solid and this is essentially a free level 7. There's plenty of options to it, and I love that about this card. It's never been the best card in the deck that it's been in, but it's never been a bad one either. Its ability to get machines into the graveyard has seen use throughout the years and most certainly will in the years to come. And while something like, say, Machina Gadgets, its probable most infamous deck, has long left its time in the sun in regards to competitive viability, Fortress remains a solid card to include in machine decks, which is pretty damn good to say for a card from 2010. And so that's our look at Yu-Gi-Oh! Single card history, Machine Fortress. That's not what it is. Machina Fortress. Stay tuned for our next video, and feel free to suggest some cards to review or what type of video you'd like to see. Don't forget to like, and as always, subscribe to YGO Strats to impress your smoking Italian wife, and of course, so you too can be a true duelist.